Hey, good morning, folks. We're going to do some artwork. Let me see. Checking in on my signal to make sure that I'm coming through clearly. We're going to do some real quick social media posts, and then we'll get to work. So real quick social media posts, and then we'll get to work. Real quick social media posts, and then we'll get to work. We'll drop that down. It's good enough. So let's drop that volume down there real quick. I'm going to hit the, I'm copying the link so I can post it to the socials, and then we'll get to work here. So, hey, my name is Phil Kearney. I create role-playing games. I illustrate them and I publish them online. And we're creating content for the Eberron campaign setting in Dungeons & Dragons using 5th edition 2024 rules. I've been a DM since 1987. I've been a freelance illustrator since 1999. I've been an Eberron enthusiast since 2004, and I've been creating content on the DMsGuild since 2018. But I haven't done anything. I haven't created anything on DMsGuild for Eberron specifically yet. So that's what we're doing right now. We're making this adventure. It's called Crystals of Mabar. You can see it here. It's for 7th and 8th level characters. We're fighting necromancers, undead, and demon in the Carnwood of Karnath on the continent of Corvair. And if you think this stuff is cool, like, subscribe, hit the bell icon for notification of when we're live in the future. And here's a bunch of books that I've already created on the DMsGuild. They all have free preview loaded up with the artwork that I do. And with that, let's just drop this down a little bit and get started. So we made this book cover back around episode 40. We're now on episode 551. So we're painting a necrotic forest, the manifest zone to the plane of Mabar. Hey Fox, how you doing, my guy? We're making an illustration for the forest en route to the manifest zone. The manifest zone to the plane of Mabar is the source of necrotic energy and undeath and darkness. So when a manifest zone gets created, if it's powerful enough, it just starts terraforming the environment inside of manifest zone. And then the wind, it's in a forest in the northern location, in the northern area of Karnath, which has southerly winds. So when the wind picks up dretch in the manifest zone, it pushes it in the wind southward, and it spreads spores and fungus and the necrotic rot that is in the manifest zone. So as you get closer and closer to the manifest zone through the forest, the trees become more and more decrepit until they eventually just turn into necrotic slurry that crusts over and then solidifies into moss, fungus, mushrooms, exotic life forms, exotic flora that you would find in Mabar, which we have detailed in the adventure appendix. So, hey, Steve, it's good to see you. I'm glad you guys are here. Thanks a lot for being here. So we're going to continue with today's quest of illustrating this thing. We're just blending in, and this is just some random scratch marks that I put on the page to indicate a mass, a land mass, quote-unquote land mass. So I just wanted to blend that in here real quick, just as some texture. And we have, we have this here. Good. And we have that there. We have here. Let's erase this underpinning. Actually, let's make that tree go away so we can see where the underpinning stuff is. I don't think I need any of that. We're just doing some cleanup right now, and then we're going to move on to the next batch of trees. I spy with my eye something that is text. Hey, what's up? Now, how am I going to keep my players from eating every magic mushroom they find in the movie Johnson the Scene? If they brew it into tea, and you can brew one dose per short rest, but if you brew it, you can wipe what would I call that? The residue there you go. The mushroom residue that's left over from boiling it and doing some alchemical treatment with like a poisoner kit or a medicine kit or even cooking tools. it creates this residue that if you wipe it on your eyes, you get dark vision for 1 hour. So you can basically brew dark vision potions with it if you have the right tools on hand. You harvest some mushrooms, make night vision, make a night vision potion. It doesn't help you see through the fog any better, but it gives you night vision. There's that. I think I'm happy with that now. There's that. I'm gonna merge all of this together. This is just some ground scrub stuff, so I don't need to do a lot with it. Right now I'm just scratching it into the canvas to break up the line weight and to create some texture, just some light texture here. We'll eventually turn this into different layers in the, hold on. I've got these white marks here, and I don't know where those are coming from. Where are those coming from? Huh. All right. There. There's these black dandelions that basically spread spores and plant life, spores and stuff in the zone. The mushrooms, of course. The crystals is the black crystals is the soil that gets leached of all life, and the crusty little grit that gets left over is like Folger's crystals. It gets left over as the necrotic soil that composes the ground in the plane of Mabar. So we're actively terraforming the ground basically into Mabaran soil that can accommodate Mabaran plant life. And then there's the Vulpina Lotharia, which is a viridescent as opposed to iridescent. I learned early on. Iridescent means like a blue light, but viridescent means like a greenish light. And if you're using Magic the Gathering, the plane of Mabar, the manifest zone has a black-green energy vibe to it. That it's natural and necrotic. Well, I mean, it's unnatural to us, but for its plane of existence, like the plane of Mabar is like the plane of necrotic energy. And necrotic energy and color is black. So and it's a natural process. Like it's the natural space that necrotic energy exists inside of, and it's a plane with an environment, plants and stuff. So we give it the black-green color motif, which is why we use a lot of the colors that we choose in our palette when we're doing stuff involving Mabar. Aether Academy, the Manifest Zone themselves, all the plants and stuff that grow in there have a general green or blackish tinge to them one way or another. Yeah, that feels pretty good. I'm going to leave that like that for now. I'm going to move this tree out of the way. Do a little bit of that. Little surface scratching. There, now we have this, so let's take that, and here we're going to separate foreground. Grab this color here. Arr! We use the same base color, and as we move further back in the piece, we're going to add more layers of fog and drop the opacity on the trees so that they fade into the fog background. Close-up trees have more detail and have more saturation. Further away, they'll have less detail and be less saturated. That's how you can distinguish distance without necessarily having to change the size of the objects in the composition. That should do.
Question: does the adventure assume the color mana system?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't mention color at all. That's just a color motif that I'm working with. I use color mana in my Eberron games, but it's just a magic paradigm. So you could use you can use Vancian magic spell slots as usual. You could use I mean it's a 5e adventure, so it can convert to any d20 at all. But yeah, no. Color mana is just the way that I like to speak. It's how I like to frame things narratively and make sense to me. Like if the colors make sense, then generally the narrative that's underpinning whatever it is we're talking about is going to work as well. Because as a magic philosophy, it's super solid. I like the different supplements and projects that I do to be able to work together, but I like to build them so that they don't rely on knowing anything else about what I do. Except for like if it has if it has like an IP label on it, like all my Spelljammer stuff that I will do, for the most part, will assume that you are aware of the combat and exploration mechanics that I built, for instance. And any future warfare and guild and settlement stuff that I'll be publishing will assume awareness of the bashing campaigns supplement that we're building. So, anything involving Magic the Gathering that I do in the future will assume the color mana spell point variant rules. But like Spelljammer doesn't assume you're using color mana spell point variant rules. And unless I'm doing a Spelljammer bashing campaign crossover project, then the bashing campaign, like Spelljammer will never assume that you're using a bashing campaign. Though I can put like footnotes in it and stuff like that, I guess, if I wanted to get like really specific about it. But like in the bashing campaign, I mentioned Spelljammers, like how long does it take to establish a trade route with something through Spelljammer, for instance, like on cart, airship, infernal war machines, on foot, on horseback, and on Spelljammer ships. It's like these are the different scales of vehicles that exist inside of 5e in general, inside of WotC products in general now. So like making reference to infernal war machines as like you can establish a trade route if you have like X hundreds of miles per week if you have infernal war machines available to you, for instance. We do make mention of that. Let's do that. It feels a little, yeah, we'll do that. There we go. That'll be good. Yeah, we're basically just drawing sticks and twigs today. We gotta fill up the forest before we can start doing the detail work for all of it, and then we'll have to do the ground scrub, and we'll have like little patches of fungus, and that'll be glowing. So we'll have some interesting low light effects, which might create uplight effects for underlighting some of the branches. We'll see how the composition comes along, but that's kind of what I'm thinking about. So while I'm working on a piece like this, I'm just my brain is just clocking what can I do with this, you know? Let's root it.
Hey, what's up? Other question. Okay, my party has not only their own airship, but a fleet of them at this point. Will that interfere with the plot of this story?
It'll make it would make it easier for them to get to the location that they want to go to. If you're going to allow them to airdrop into the manifest zone. So the manifest zone has fog that will not clear, and your maximum visibility is 40 feet. If we have characters that are going to be airdropping in with airships, they'll have to find whatever it is that they're looking for. So I could see having airships. I had not anticipated that because people in Karnath generally don't have access to airships. But so they would have to. They're gonna have to get on the ground because they wanna speak to and investigate with villagers that have friends that are missing, and there's reports of monsters in the woods, and it'll be so they'll be able to in the adventure, like if you climb onto the top of a there's a grain silo. If you climb up onto the top of the grain silo and you look northward across the forest, you can see that there's a disruption off in the distance. And it's 20 some odd miles away, so it would be a pittance for your characters to be able to fly over to that area and then basically park yourself above the manifest zone and then like rappel down into it, but you're rappelling blindly into it. And there are undead that are roaming the manifest zone that can see you, but you can't see them. So if you have an airship come and park over to the manifest zone, I think that would probably invite specters, wraiths, imps, and Theurgy, any other potential flying monster that you would want to include in the manifest zone. But those are just some of the flying ones that we have. So I think it could. I had not anticipated taking a bunch of airships into into Karnath with you, but it will change it. It would definitely change it. I think the NPCs that are there, if they catch wind that there's airships that are orbiting around the manifest zone, I think they would start to freak out a lot. It'd probably make them hostile. The default assumption is that your characters have been deputized to look into what is why people are going missing. But if you were to use an alternate plot hook like the Ader Requisition Team to recover the artifact for Ader Academy, that would the Ader Academy plot hook assumes that you're going to get a plane shift spell that takes you into the manifest zone directly anyway. So does working for the 12. It assumes that you're going to get plane shifted directly into the final facility as like a one shot. But the DM can start you as far away as you want, even outside of the forest where the village is at. So I guess if you add an airship, it's just going to force you to collapse time frames on how long the adventure is going to last. Because if you can just immediately press go and arrive at the middle of the manifest zone and start airdropping into it, that'll probably cause the mercenaries to be potentially more hostile, because you wouldn't have the ability to subtly slide in and start to interact with them. You'd just basically be airdropping in with as a SWAT team, and that would be viewed as an immediate hostility. I think the mercenaries would respond to that as an invasion and just assume hostility. If the way the adventure is built is if you can negotiate with the mercenaries that were hired to police the area, if you drop in with an airship, they will probably, and especially if you have a badge, they'll be like, yeah, you've got authority here, Chief. I'm just going to step out of your way, because that's how the adventure is written. If you can show that you have authority, like government authority to be there asking questions, then the mercenaries are not going to get in your way. They might not be your allies if you've killed some of them, but they won't stop you. They acknowledge your legal authority there. It's the necromancers inside the facility that you're going to have a problem with at that point. So I guess it would work. It's just if you can just press go, and you can, because it's only going to take a minute for you to travel the 20 miles it takes to get there, then that you'll be drastically reducing the you won't have to deal with any of the Carnwood, any of the encounters that actually happen in the Carnwood. Your characters may or may not be able to locate, because there's 3 structures inside the manifest zone. But we specifically say it doesn't matter how high up you fly, once you're in the manifest zone, you're in that zone, and you can try to fly. Like, you can't fly your way up and out of it. You can only fly out laterally. But once you're over it and you drop in, you're in the manifest zone. So climbing your way out, the Dean would have to rule exactly how high up in the sky would you have to be able to climb to clear the manifest zone. Presumably, it's like it's a 5 mile radius. So, and it's a dome, so it's like 2 miles up. That's a huge space that it can occupy. So, it's like I said, you can see it from the top of a cistern. You can see that there's a disturbance off in the distance, but it's also during the rainy season, so it's constantly raining. There's heavy cloud coverage, and you only have 2 miles of visibility at the foot level, right? And then so if you get up on top of the tower, you're going to have a little bit more distance, but you can't actually see, because of the weather, you can't see the manifest zone from the village. But if you're on an airship, you'd be able to pick it out. Like, it's like, that is obviously a disturbance. Good mental exercise. I think it would work. It's the lack of, you can't just spot your target from orbit, because the manifest zone is going to prevent that visibility. They're going to have to get on the ground. They could eyeball and guess, this looks like about the middle of the zone, and then drop in there, because obviously there's a nexus, right, where the zone spreads from, and it'd be logical that the nexus is where the center of trouble is coming from. But the team is going to have to guesstimate where the center is at, drop in, and now they're in the muck, and they're going to have to start navigating it like everyone else, and the ship won't be able to track their progress unless you have some pretty high level magic capable of doing so. I would start harassing those ships almost immediately with incorporeal undead, so that they'll want to back off and then approach on foot from the like anchor somewhere out in the forest and then approach it on foot. Otherwise, I just hit them with a bunch of wraiths and specters and imps. That's probably the best way to do it.
So treat it like how Sire is now, all foggy and drop.
Yeah, exactly. Blind drop. Mm-hmm. So they can do it if they want to, and that's fine, because the adventure is designed. You can start, like I said, some of the plot hooks have you start in the dungeon as a one-shot run and gun, or a heist mission that you complete in 3 hours. We've done that in some of our sessions. We've tested it as a one-shot and it worked just fine. Or if you're adding to a campaign, the further away you move from the Manifest Zone dungeon, the more content you're going to consume along the way, obviously. So, yeah, blind airdrop in, and if they catch wind that you're there, it could create a lot of hostilities. If honestly, if your team isn't working for the 12 and they're going to airdrop in, I would honestly recommend that the necromancers be working with the 12, that they not have a conflict. That way the 12 can provide additional support, and potentially even air support to try to push a ship away with a rogue airship. But if they're going to show up with the whole fleet, there's no way they're going to be able to overcome that. Especially if they have access to Marines. There's around 100 soldiers that are running around inside of there, which, if you have a fleet of airmen, they're going to be able to overwhelm that. But then you'd have to start looking at mass combat and stuff like that, which I can provide you, but that is beyond the normal scope of this content. Let's do that. But yeah, it could work. It can work. I'm not liking that one. That's better. Nah, don't like it. That feels better. And I need to thicken this up a bit. if how fleet active are all the nations in your campaign? I could imagine if they don't have authority to have airships in Karnath, that Karnath military would get pretty pissed off pretty fast. Though, I mean, it technically doesn't have to be in Karnath. It could be anywhere that you're allowing a manifest zone, of a Mabar Manifest zone occur, and you could technically allow that to happen anywhere. So if you don't want to be in Karnath of the adventure, Karnath is just where manifest zones to Mabar just naturally occur. So narratively, it was on point. But if like you wanted to have this happen in the Eldine Reaches, for instance, you could do that. It's just a village on the end of a forest with a manifest zone somewhere inside the forest. That's all that's really required. It's all wrapped in Karnath narrative. Like if you included the cemetery, it's got a lot of notes about like the names on tombstones and stuff like that are all Karnath by nature, and it has history about some of the heroes in Karnath that have gone missing in history, but they're actually buried in the cemetery. So like as a minor footnote, it's like, you know, if you have historians on your team, or if you have like a Korenberg Chronicle contact that's into forgotten lore of history and like unproven mysteries and stuff like that, you can get up to X thousand gold for evidence of hero such and such's final actual burial. I don't remember the names and the cost offhand. It's been a while since I've looked at it, but we have notes in there. Like if people geek out on what's on the name of the cemetery tombstone, it's like, well, I've got answers for you, fucker. Ask as much as you want. I have a whole table you can roll on for the names of the schmucks you're trying to look at, assuming that their names are still visible on the tombstone at all, which the DM can decide. You can't read that one, and if you get tired of them, it's like every 5 or 6 or so you can read a name, and here's the random name that you get. Roll name, there you go, shut up. But in the process of doing that, it was a lot of fun looking up the Karnath names. That feels pretty good. I like that. Scrub's looking good. Get stuff out of the way, and let's look at the background here. See flaws in there. We'll fix that. Clear that out of the way. There we go. Merge down. Yeah, airships really collapse time frames in Eberron. Having access to them is super cool, and it's a great base of operations, and honestly makes west marching pretty easy if you're into that sort of thing. But you have to take into account the collapsed time frames of mobility getting around. So things become far less about overland movement and resource management, and it's more about motives and plot beats, you know, because you can get anywhere immediately that you want. You need to have storylines and plot hooks that aren't reliant on your characters needing time to get wherever they're going to. Thin that down. I'm gonna add some dross on these drippies, like wilted lettuce leaves hanging off of these things. Or I guess they're pine needles, so I guess that wouldn't really make sense. Maybe I do want some dross, but I don't have to overdo it. So that's there. And this one feels pretty good. Like this would be like drop it back like that. You know, it has a little less strength in the composition. But once we start adding in texture and stuff, that'll feel a little bit more natural. But this is the idea that goes on behind that. What is this one at? This one's at, like, we dropped this one down to, like, say, 75%. And this tree here would be, like, 80, like, probably, like, 90. Just a little faded. And it'll drop down, like, that's 100%. These two front trees are 100%. This one's 90. This one's 75. This one, probably like 50%. We're getting there. And it's starting to, it's starting to look pretty good. It'll be interesting. It should be interesting when we're done. Let's see. 1, 2. Drop this and this. This is the tree that we're working on, so I'm going to get rid of this. Actually, I'm going to leave that and that in place for comparison. So I know not to overdo it. Shoop, like that. Paste on top.
What's up? The two trees bent towards each other. It gives the impression of an entry arch.
Yeah, I'm into that. I think it's frames within frames is something I like to think about in compositions. So when like this is a natural, like this space here becomes a natural interest point. Not only is it super, very centered, but it has this unnatural framing here. So your eye kind of wants to look inside of like what's going on inside this space here, inside of this new tree that we're drawing, and these here. Every time you have like these little points, like this becomes a point of interest, like what's going on inside that space. Your eye doesn't really think about like what's going on, like, oh, this is an interesting intersection of these two trees. Not nearly as much as looking into like what's going on inside these negative spaces. That's kind of how the eye works. It naturally looks, it wants to look through keyholes. So if you create interesting keyholes, your eye is going to be stimulated by it. Like these are interesting little shapes. The negative space creates little shapes. And your eye is naturally drawn towards, is there something, like, is that shape, does that mean something? Like, this is when you get into that, like, anthropomorphizing things, or like, creating synchronicities where it might just be pure coincidence, but your eye is, your brain is attempting to make meaning out of the things that it's observing. So the eye does that with illustration too. So you want to think about like tangential lines that are like two different objects. Like if I had a block, like a square here, and then I had say, like if this was like a Christmas gift, and then I had like wallpaper behind it, and it lined up almost exactly with the top of the gift. This single line, your brain starts locking in. That's the same shape. So like if I were to do that, if I were to have an illustration of Christmas gift on the floor, I would want to make sure that the floor is off, or the perspective is radical like this, so that these two lines aren't creating a tangential connection. Because your eye will piece things together that way. It's an optical illusion thing, and that's a technical term, optical illusion thing. Yep. So thinking about that's how your eye works while you're building a composition helps you make sure you don't make any stupid mistakes or create any false connections that you didn't intend for. Thicken this up. Saw the new Thunderbolts movie, the last Marvel movie that they created on stream, since it's free now. And by God, that was a real 6 out of 10 movie. It didn't make me laugh once. The action was okay. The character interaction was fine, and the characters that they chose to focus on are like super B or C tier characters. So it was like, I wouldn't say Marvel is back with that movie, but I don't think they've strayed any further than where they were already at. This movie didn't hurt them, but it didn't help either. It didn't do anything for them other than, here's a movie, maybe we made some money. I don't know if it made money or not, honestly. I haven't seen Fantastic Four. I've heard multiple reviews saying it's the best piece that they've put out in quite some time, but I don't know what that necessarily means. Like, is it even as good as Guardians of the Galaxy 2? Because that was like a 7.5, maybe an 8, because it made me laugh a number of times. I'd say I guess 7.5, 8. That feels about right for Guardians of the Galaxy 2. Like I question whether Fantastic Four could even hit those numbers. But yeah, Thunderbolt, maybe like a 5.5. Like 5 where I guess if I were to put a benchmark on a scale of 1 to 10, like movies or content I consume, if it breaks even with, like, was the amount of money that I spent on it, do I regret spending it? It's less than 5. It's like, it was good enough. It was worth the money I spent, sure. Then it would be a 5 or better, but I didn't pay for it. So if I went into the theater and paid like $20, like $40, to take a gal with me to see it, it would not have been worth it. That would have been a waste of money. But streaming for free, like on a $14 a month subscription, yeah, I guess it was worth it. My best movie event to date was back when both the first Iron Man and Speed Racer were in the theater at the same time. I used to have a movie tradition that I'd buy a movie and then I'd movie hop to another one. So we bought Iron Man and then jumped into Speed Racer. It was starting 10 minutes after Iron Man ended in the theater next door. So we just went out one door and into the next, and had Speed Racer and Iron Man was a delicious double feature. It was both. We didn't know what either one of them, me and my gal, neither one of us knew what they were going to be like, and they were both legitimately good films. So that was best birthday ever. And after that, they started really locking down Well, you can still get away with theater hopping if no one's checking stuff, but there hasn't been two movies in the theater at the same time since then that I felt was worth sticking around for to do a double feature. There's not enough good movies coming out at the same time for me to want to bother doing that anymore. And for anyone that might be angry about me stealing theater hopping, I would buy food at before, and then I'd buy food on the way out so that the theater was getting their cut. Chicken waffle sandwiches to go. That's a way to pay homage to your movie theater. You know, assuming that they have chicken waffle sandwiches. If your theater doesn't have chicken waffle sandwiches, you talk to a manager. You guys need chicken waffle sandwiches. I'm not. Hot dogs on the way in, chicken waffles on the way out. Yum. Theater hopping used to be so awesome when there was like good movies all the freaking time. What a loss. How are you on time? 7:20. Holy shit. I'm doing great. Droopy. It's a droopy tree. Maybe I need to have this one be a little bit more embellished. But this is about the degree that I expect the rest of these trees back here and here. That's about what I expect from these other distant trees. But this one's a little bit front and center, so I think I want to have a little bit more going on with it because of its position, it's going to have more visibility. So I want it to have a little bit more character and interest to it. So I'm going to embellish this one a little bit further. That keyhole we were talking about. But I am at a place I can include this. This is, I mean, these are necrotic trees, but this is the same process I go through basically all my branches, except that in a normal forest, I'd have a foliage brush that I would start adding, you know, leaf volume to. Looking for the right word there. Probably finish these trees today. So when we come back tomorrow, we'll start working on the ground and creating little pockets and dips and stuff. good. Let's make that a little bit creepy. Droopy, bitch. Rotted off branches here. No, wrong tree. Stay on target, Kearney. That feels pretty good. I think I can probably leave this at that point. There. Alright, so let's do some... Let's do some... Get rid of that. Huh. Another stray tree over here. Back on point. Erase the excess. I don't want to just delete the layer or just drop it altogether. I want to actually go through and look at what is still visible from the initial sketch, because there might be little nuggets that I like. For example, I like that. Grab that. Good. Reset on that. There we go. Merge down. Almost there. I need to add a little weight to this branch. Yeah, not bad. A little bit of ground texture here. This would be like 65. I think that's probably... Yeah, I think I like that placement. That feels good. But I want it a little bit taller. There's always ground variation, so I don't have to worry about the... I wanted to drop the... or extend the tree down a little bit more because the perspective that we have here on the ground, it kind of has like this sort of feeling to it. So I want to maintain that. This little extra bit, if this was up like this, it'd be more like that. And that's a little bit more... a bit of a sharper incline than I want. Hey, what's going on there, buddy? Another 20 minutes. We got another 20 minutes left, so let's keep handling at this. I'll be... so we'll have the trees... If I don't have the trees done, I'll spend like 30 minutes tonight. Finish up the other stragglers, but so far so good. That's very centered. I'm not sure if I like how centered that is. That's more centered. Yeah, that a little bit off like that. That feels like having something off center, at least like by a little bit. I don't want anything too dead on center. It feels unnatural. Your eye's going to be pulled to that position more than it should. So, and it's kind of standing out because it's the only tree in the background so far. But we're going to add more. This will be the next one. So let's get after it. Pitter patter. Pitter patter. Back. I mean, not really ground. Back. We call it mid-ground. Mid-ground. Yeah. Just kind of work that in. What'll happen is once we get these initial trees resolved, and we start focusing more on the ground stuff, we might end up nudging the trees around a little bit depending on what the ground ends up doing. But I'm liking this sort of that feels good. Like I could put little puddles of fog in here and across here, like thicker drafts. Whatever the word is I'm supposed to be using there. Whatever word I'm supposed to use. Let's drop that down. And since that top broke, it's too sharp of a lane. Okay, transform. That feels pretty good. Now let's see how that sits. Yeah, that'll be really interesting. image. Straightened out. There we go.
The kid absolutely loved that movie. It was his favorite so far.
I'm sorry, I'm behind. I missed that comment. Which movie? Was it Thunderbolts or Iron Man or Speed Racer? Thunderbolt, right on. Age has a lot to age and exposure. I thought it was only a so-so movie because I've been exposed to so many movies. But when I was 5, Flash Gordon was the absolute fucking shit. People could question the quality of the Flash Gordon movie at this point, and I think that's fair. Black Hole, Disney's The Black Hole. Also, saw that when I was 5. Loved it. Loved it. It's a good film. I acknowledge like nostalgia is more of what I've got going on with Black Hole than actual film quality. It's a B. It's a B-rated movie. You know, it's like 8, like maybe like a 7.5 out of 10. But the nostalgia factor for me is massive. So when you're exposed to, like for example, Doctor Who, the first Doctor I saw in Doctor Who was the 4th Doctor. The 4th Doctor is my favorite because that's the one that I spent the most time with. When I initially saw it, when the Doctor died and it got replaced with the 5th Doctor, hated him. What did you do to my jelly bean, my jelly baby scarf-toting Doctor? He went away, and now I got this weird cricket guy. I hate you. Like a lot of people think that the prequels of Star Wars are like those are great movies. It's like, well, it's because those are the first movies you saw. And you didn't have 20 years of anticipation for another movie.
Bruh. Shanice the movie Bitter Hands was scary as fuck. Yes.
Yeah, it was a fat film, man. I love that movie. So cool. And I still I still listen to quotes from the little floating robot Vincent, the sidekick robot that came in on the Palomino. I still listen to it. He's snarky as fuck. It's fun. It's a very fast-paced movie. They pack a shitload of stuff into the 90 some odd minutes that it's playing. Maybe it's 100 minutes. I think it's like 105 minutes maybe. They jam that thing in. But yeah, Max was a terror. I think it's what is it, September? I think I've watched that movie twice this year. I'll put when I'm doing artwork off stream, sometimes I'll put on movies that I've watched so much that I can basically sing along with it, or at minimum know what the visuals are in my mind, based on what I can hear. Like Aliens is like that, Terminator is like that, Black Hole is like that, Clerks is like that. What's some other solid go-to? Interstellar is getting to that point. I've seen Interstellar and The Martian. I don't know how many times that was for the past 5 years. Those two films were often just a background noise that would play. Because none of it, like most of the interest in those things. I mean, sure, Interstellar is visually interesting. But like most of it's conversation, just like with The Martian. There's not a lot of visual elements to it that are important. It's mostly conversation. Terminator, Aliens, those are obviously visual spectacles, but I've seen them so much that I know what it is that you're looking at when I hear, why don't you put her in charge? I know what the fire looks like. I know where the wreckage in the background is at. Exposure. I also like listening to rain. I have no idea how many YouTube AI channels of like rainfall. I honestly don't like thunderstorm. I don't know if it's AI or if it's real anymore. Honestly, the ones with the painted animation backgrounds. I mean, it could be AI. I can't tell the difference. I honestly can't. Like snowstorms and rain, like rain on leaves, rain, puddles of water. Those are those type of those sort of sound elements I enjoy listening to while I'm painting. Currently, we're listening to Epidemic, which is a subscription service that while you're subscribed, you won't get copy strike on any of the music that's playing. I've been using Epidemic long enough now that I can recognize some of the songs popping up in other people's content that they put on YouTube. It's like, oh yeah, I know that song. I love that song. Feels pretty good. I think I want to slim it up a little bit, shrink it a smidge. Put a couple little verbs in there. That I can delete with confidence. So let's see, this one's gonna be more like 50%. Let's go 55. Pushing our way back to the page. What's up? Hey, right on, Fox. Thanks a lot for hanging out, my guy. I really appreciate you. Thanks a lot for being around. Let's do that. There. Yeah, that feels pretty good. Maybe I want to push that back a little bit further. That feels pretty good. And when we add in the there, taking off the tops of the trees there will help with its height. will help with verticality of the place. Yeah, so far so good. Disable the layer mask. Back ridge. Tree. Sorry, I'm lost in the dross. Let's do that. Mid-ground. That tree. Merge those together. Separate element. Our gritty's getting real nitty. Here. Little bits. I am damn near out of time. So we got a couple trees left. I'm gonna go ahead and do the trees off screen later on tonight. So when we come back in tomorrow, we'll be able to start working ground, little patches, add some depth and volume, add some more atmosphere. Working our way through the process. And I'm going back, let's see, where are we going to be at later on today? We're going to be on around 2:30 Seattle time. That's about 6.5 hours from now or so. We'll be back on. We're going to start translating the Defiler Sorcerer from the Dark Sun UA playtest. We're converting that into the color mana system. I'm anticipating Defiler to probably be in like I'm gonna guess in a black. I want to say black and green. I'm not necessarily sure what color it's gonna end up in, but my gut's telling me black and green. So we'll see how the Sorcerer's kit lands. We were on target with our guess with the Preserver Druid being white green. So it makes sense that the Defiler would be black green, but we won't know until we get there. And then the Templar Warlock, we may or may not finish the Sorcerer at lunch today. If we don't, we'll finish it on at lunch on Friday. If we finish the Sorcerer today, then we'll get into the Warlock Sorcerer, the Dragon King Warlock subclass. We'll do that on Friday or Tuesday, depending on how quickly we get through the Defiling Sorcerer. Boop. There's that. Push this up. Excuse me. So far, so good. Starting to look like a forest. Just do a couple more like that. Like that took just like a few minutes. So but I've got a slew more of them here, and then I'll drop in some here and here. Just basically a bunch of sticks in the distant background. It'll be like a 20 to 15%. But it's coming along. So we're seeing the depth. We're seeing the different planes, right? Where these trees are at. Here's one plane. Here's another plane. Here's a plane. Here's another plane here, and we got further pushed back here. So we're just pushing back in the page, and they're becoming less and less detailed and less saturated as we move further away from the camera into the depth of the piece. Yeah, so far so good. Probably take push it up just a smidge and put in the layer mask again. These things disappear. Feels pretty good occupying that space. Okay, cool. We're done for the day. I'll be back in 6.5 hours to work on the Defiler Sorcerer, translating it into the color mana system for 5e D&D. We'll be back tomorrow morning to continue this. I'm going to fill in the rest of those distant tree sticks off screen tonight, and I'll be working on other page compositions as well. And just before I sign off, again, here's Aether Academy. I still need to add in some additional concluding the adventure text here to fill in this little blank spot, which is great. Adding text is always easy. But Aether Academy, and then interns. We need to make we need to replace 3 of these with new interns, so we'll be working on that probably next. And Professor Carter in Aether Academy, working at his desk. We'll have bookshelves in back here, and then we'll flesh this out. This is something else I've been working on the side. So this and the interns will be the next piece that we work on. Once we finish this, Aether Academy is already done. So yeah, we'll just keep moving forward. So thanks a lot, guys, for hanging out. I really appreciate y'all. I'll be back on the other side. Like, subscribe, hit the bell icon if you want to hang out, do some study hall type artwork, just chill and relax. I'll see you guys on the other side. Thanks a lot.